Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Meta Cafe. Grab your cup of coffee, your tea, whatever your pleasure. I also have my trusty water. And sit back and let's chat about astrology, human design, and whatever else comes up. And happy May Day, everybody. May Day, May Day. That sounds sort of like military-ish. But May Day, to me, is about tisket, a tasket, a basket of flowers that we deliver to people's doorways. And of course, today is also Beltane, celebration of fertility and the rites of spring. And as you can see today, I'm not alone. I have a guest. And my guest today is Angie Whitsel. Am I saying that correctly, Angie?
Yes.
Whitsel. Good. Like whistle, only Whitsel.
Right, you got it.
Awesome. And I know that you came to my attention, Angie, just the other day as we were doing, I don't know, I think Roseanne is our common seed here between us. Yep. Good morning, Mimi. Let's see, happy May. And Suzanne, blessed Beltane back to you and all of you out there listening. And good morning, Roseanne. It's good to see you out there as well. Now, Angie, can you see the comments that people are running?
No, I can't. I can see who's here, and there's a team chat at the bottom, but I don't see any chats.
And there's nothing that you can toggle or anything there that allows you to see the comments?
Oh, there we go. I have it. Okay.
Nice. Okay, so now you can see people's comments?
Yep.
Awesome. I love it. So thanks for being a guinea pig and being on that end.
Sure. I don't mind. Thanks for having me.
Well, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do, what you love, everything about you that you can tell us in a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I do just want to thank you for having me on, and I want to thank Roseanne for connecting us. A little bit about me. Well, I live in the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania area, and I guess I started this path, I want to say, back in late 2011. And I had a loss in my life at the time, and I was having a hard time sleeping, and so I would go onto YouTube and I would start to check out tracks for meditation, soothing music that would help me, go to sleep. And that's when I came across websites on Reiki and Starseeds and all that good stuff. And I just remember coming across the Starseed website, and it was 3 a.m, and my husband's asleep, my dogs are there with me, and I'm just crying in my bed.
Oh.
Because it was the first time ever I read something that resonated so much that I felt so connected to. And I knew from that day forward that somehow the stars were my link to my life's purpose and path. And for the beginning of my path, I kind of ignored that, even though every reading I've ever had has told me the stars are your connection.
We're so good at ignoring spirit, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Maybe too good sometimes.
Exactly. So now that I have grown so much and I'm coming full circle, I'm coming into the realization that, yes, the stars are my link to my purpose. I'm starting to explore that, and I'm starting to bring it into the community at Harrisburg and online. So, fast forward a little bit, I had another loss in my life, which was my dad, and that was a big one for me. And I was taking care of him through hospice at our house, and I was watching him go through conversations with people in our living room, and it was just amazing to me. I was more of a witness, because at this point he didn't even realize I was there. And after he had passed, that's when my medium switch turned on. It was like a floodgate. So now when I do the mediumship as well, my dad's actually with me, and he helps me from the other side. He kind of helps me decipher signs and symbols. So that was kind of like the second leg of my spiritual path. um, and as I'm growing, recently I started to channel star beings. I have a Pleiadian guide for myself for my own guidance, which, to be honest with you, I think it's a version of my higher self. But I also just started Arcturian light healing and Arcturian Reiki. And I just received an Arcturian guide who helps me heal others. And that's pretty cool. It's a totally different energy than the normal Reiki. So I'm doing that now, and I'm doing local starseed circles to just get everyone together.
Okay, can I stop you right there for a second?
Yep.
Because, you know, I've heard the term starseed. I saw it on your Facebook page. It said your name and then starseed medium, and I can't remember what the third word was there. And I went, oh, interesting, starseed. I cannot remember where it is, what reference I have in my mind about what a starseed is, because maybe you can explain that to us. And Roseanne just said something that she's gotten a starseed birth chart, and I'm like, what is that?
Yeah. Yep, I'll explain it. So
Awesome.
A starseed is basically somebody who has reincarnated during this time from another planet or star system to help raise the vibration of the planet. Now, that sounds like a normal light worker, but these people are specifically coming in from different areas and different planets for different reasons. And I have found there are about 12 different roles that these starseeds play as part of their mission while they're here. And as I started learning how to do the starseed origin charts, I'm seeing how they all tie together, and people who have come from, let's say, Orion, they all seem to have the same personality characteristics, and they all seem to have the same life mission and life purpose too. Whereas if someone from the Pleiades, they have a totally different mission, they have a totally different outlook on life and personalities. So it's very much like astrology.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. And in those charts, what I do tell people is it's nothing like astrology, but yet it is similar in that you can pick out the characteristics of people based on what planets or fixed stars they come from. So
if you're saying what planet or fixed star they come from, because I'm thinking now astrological, what would that look like in a chart? Is that the placement of the sun? Is it the placement of a sun in the nearest fixed star? How are you referencing that?
So I usually look at the ascendant and the midheaven. Now, if they have a fixed star or a planet in both or either, that is where they came from most recently. So we have to, and it can get very confusing. It gets very detailed because we reincarnate, and we could have possibly lived on many planets. And in all actuality, we do.
Yeah.
I think
that I believe.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, because we all sort of, across the collective, we have this yearning for the stars. I mean, we always have. Mm-hmm. It's like we look up at the stars at night and we are almost longing for home, maybe, or, there's a sense that there's something so much more than us on this little blue planet.
Exactly.
So I'm really, I'm sure that that's something that that we've done or experienced. Now, are there traits that you pick out that would be like if you see somebody doing specific things in their world that they're most likely from the Pleiades or Sirius or things like that?
Yeah. Like I'd like to say that Arcturians are more of the healers in the community. Now, they have a very strong and intense presence about them. A little more serious, I want to say. So I can normally
Serious?
yeah. Serious from serious. Syrians actually are very intense too. The Pleiades are very lighthearted, and they're more, I have found, the light workers that are out there just bombarding people with love and positive messages, and they're the lighthearted ones. And the serious, they are more the transmuters. They go into the darkness and they bring all those truths that need to be brought to the surface. That's their mission. And then we have other starseeds who are the crystal finders and the grid keepers, and it all gets very interesting.
It really does. I mean, I've never really thought about it. I one day was looking at, I don't remember what it was actually, but I think there was a change on the program that I used originally for astrology to where you could add fixed stars in. And I went, well, that's kind of an interesting concept. And I thought about doing it, but I didn't know anything about the fixed stars. So then I thought, well, I would have to learn more in order to be able to utilize them. So it's really fascinating that that's available and out there.
Yep.
So for example, let's just say I have a 26-degree Cancer rising sign.
Okay.
And a 14-degree Aries midheaven.
Okay.
Does that make you go,
That would be 14 degrees Aries. I think that would be Pleiadian. Now, I have a kind of very long cheat sheet that I use.
Of course you'd have to, because there's a lot of fixed stars.
And I'm finding new stars and new planets and their locations every single day. So eventually, I think my charts are going to be insanely long. But yes, the Pleiades rings a bell, and that's actually interesting you say that, because the other one would be the Rocancreans, which is very rare. They're called the Diamond People.
26 Cancer.
I
I have a granddaughter. She's 7, and she has the exact same degree of rising sign as I do. 26 degrees. I mean, who comes up with 26 degrees?
Wow.
When I did her chart, I was like, that can't be. She's a Scorpio, and I'm a Gemini, so it's not because we're in the same sign. It's that our birth charts align that way. It's really fascinating to me.
Well, that's really cool. Yeah, I will send you information on the Rocancreans.
Well, you know what makes me really interested about this whole thing, Angie, is that I wonder if those specific things have anything that dovetails with human design. Because there are certain types of people who are here to do certain things with their energy. And of course, our world here kind of pre-selects them or conditions them to be moving in specific directions. And then, the real problem comes in when that direction is, meeting up with the fact that that's not what we innately know that we're supposed to be doing. But yet there's no outlet for our energy in the way that we want to be able to do it, or we feel like that's what's happening. So it'd be, I think I'm just fascinated by this whole idea.
Well, that's actually why I was talking to Roseanne. I wanted to get my own human design chart read, and I knew that it somehow would tie in to what I was already doing, and that it would help not only my clients, but your clients understand a little bit about what they need to do in order to fulfill their life's purpose. So I was ecstatic when she told me about you and that you did all this, because I just have this feeling if we start to connect, that it's all going to start to make even more sense.
I love it. I love it. Now, you and I were chatting a little bit. I think it was yesterday. I mean, who knows? Time has no meaning anymore. And you were talking about conversations that you've been having with Saturn or with
Yes.
Saturnians.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that, because that's also fascinating to me, of course, that you are having conversations with planets that or people from planets that we believe have no life on them.
Mm-hmm. I am still shocked by this, because I'm thinking in my head that nobody exists on Saturn. So what I saw was a couple beings that looked pretty similar to us, to be honest. They had larger eyes, but maybe a little bit smaller in stature.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew they were from Saturn because they had a little Saturn symbol on their jackets, which, I don't know if that was just a symbol for me to relate to them, or do they actually wear those? I don't know. But they showed me this image of Saturn being hit by something, and it rang like a bell, and I could see all of these, what's the word I'm looking for? Like sound waves going out into the universe.
Uh-huh.
And that's when I thought, okay, there's something going on with Saturn, because there's energy that's being sent out to all of us right now that's affecting us. But then I also thought, well, it rang like a bell, which is telling me that it could possibly be a hollow planet.
Ooh.
Could they be living
Subterranean?
Yes. And I can't remember all of it now, but they were telling me information about the Rainbow Bridge around the Earth, and that it exists. And I've heard of this before. I'm sure many of us have heard about it through our pets, crossing the Rainbow Bridge. But this bridge exists outside of the Earth, and they were telling me that we need to go out in the sunlight more, because this is affecting our energy centers. It's almost like an instant chakra boost. And that's why when we take pictures lately, we're seeing a lot of rainbow phenomenon in our pictures. We're seeing it in the sky. We're seeing a lot more like rainbow clouds. And so it was interesting.
Rainbows off of orbs that are in pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
And so they want us to go out more into the sun to be able to absorb that energy, maybe, or?
Mm-hmm. And I was told that we get this energy no matter what, even if we're indoors. But if we go outdoors, we're getting it full blast. So I think it was a message they wanted me to receive, but also to share with humanity that this is something new for us. We've never had this energy available to us before. And as time goes on, it's going to get stronger and stronger, and we're going to see more rainbow phenomenon too.
I love it. You know what this reminds me of, Angie? A couple things. First of all, the first book I ever came across that was about astrology was a book written by Barbara Hand Clow, and it was about Chiron and Rainbow Bridge between the planets or something. And Saturn was one of them, and I think Uranus was the other one. Okay. And it was all about this rainbow energy and how we connect with these planets. So that rings a bell. but also that when human design was seeded on the planet, and this was back in 1987, it was because of the neutrino stream, which are highly charged atomic particles that I believe are coming to us from the galactic center, that bathe not only the Earth, but the entire solar system, the entire of the Milky Way galaxy, in fact, with highly charged particles that create the potential for evolution and for more and more energy for us to use and raise our frequencies with. So I wonder if there's a relationship there between what you're
Yeah.
hearing from the Saturn people and what we already have. We already know that neutrinos can move right on through the Earth. So
Okay.
when you say that they can penetrate, even if you're in your home, that is, really about the neutrino stream, because they're so small and they're so highly energetic that they can just slip right between the spaces,
Mm-hmm.
the space of space,
Mm-hmm.
and create that evolutionary change. So it's really powerful. The
Yeah.
second thing that jumps to my mind about this is, have you ever heard of something called Saturn theory?
No. Mm-mm.
So ages back, maybe in 2006, 2007, this man sent me an email and he said something about, have you read Velikov's work? This is a scientist, a Russian scientist, or a Czechoslovakian scientist, I think.
Okay.
And the work he's done about Saturn theory. And I went, no, never heard of it. So I started looking into it. Well, there's this whole theory about the fact that Saturn at some point, well, first, let me back up a second. Most star systems are binary or even trinary systems where there's more than, the fact that our sun appears to be just the one sun is rare, considering most systems have two stars,
Yeah.
and or at least two, if not three. And the theory goes that perhaps Saturn at one point in time was a dying star. And then if you go and you start looking at the stories that we have of the great floods, that something came along and hit Saturn and caused it to implode, which then ionized our atmosphere here on this planet and created a lot of rain, the 40 days and 40 nights of rain, the whole Noah's Ark flood that maybe our history records in our unconscious that occurred. And then it was the hit kind of slung it out into the outer reaches of the of our solar system, which then of course could account for some of the rings and the debris and so forth. So to me, it's distinctly possible that you're tapping into a people perhaps that had to go underground, as it were, to survive something like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because exactly what you just said is what I saw. So I wondered when I saw those energy waves going out, okay, what kind of energy is this that's going out and what hit them? So that's, wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So yeah, look, just do a Google search for Saturn theory, and if I remember later, I'll go get my book. It's in the bookshelf in my other rooms. That where the scientist, of course, and everybody thought he was mad and loony, because no, there was never a second, but science continues to look for our second sun, or for evidence of our second sun. They just kind of sometimes blind themselves to what's right in front of them. So fascinating stuff. So I'm going to turn real quickly just for a moment. We'll come back to you and what else you want to share with us. But I want to say a couple things about the day today. Remember, we are in a long void of course moon until 11. Oh gosh, was it 11:19 this evening? So this is a day, the whole day, basically, for doing just what we're doing here, chatting about things, maybe doing some research yourselves, looking up information about the things that we're talking about today. I, for one, am going to go look up Starseeds and find out more information about that. But it's not a good day to start something new or to jump out there and do things that aren't already in progress or process at some point here. Tomorrow, whole different day, as the moon will be in Sagittarius and we again start to pick up some energy. Lastly, I mean, really, this was the best day ever, Angie, for us to do this, because I have this little cheat sheet that tells me on each day, like not only what are the moon's contacts or the sun or the big news for the day, but it also tells my personal contacts, because the program used me as a template. Well, there isn't one thing on the day. There are for me personally, but not for the world at large. So I went, wow, that's okay. Oh yeah, that's right. There's a void of course moon. So here we have, this big gap, this space where we can, devote our energy to learning or doing things in a different way. And second thing that I wanted to pass on this morning is another word came to me yesterday afternoon as I was thinking about this whole month of May and these first 2 weeks before Uranus moves into Taurus and creates havoc in the world, potential havoc in the world. And that was revitalizing. And I got into that later because I felt like, wow, when you have this time to breathe, what are we really doing? We're revitalizing ourselves. So this next couple of weeks is a time to re-energize, revitalize, and kind of recoup some of the energy that we've had to expend over the last couple of weeks, dealing with traumas and dramas and all kinds of things. And there may yet be some shock things coming up, and messages. I don't mean that shocking events, although I would never say never, but certainly messages coming that are meant to enlighten, meant to uplift, open up your eyes, your mind, and that all Mercury sitting at gate 51 in human design, which is the gate of shock. Angie, I don't know if you know much about human design, but gate 51 is that gate that shocks us as a way to initiate us onto a new path. So much like your maybe your father's death, or your the first death that you experienced that sent you, into a search for higher meaning or for what your work is that you're meant to do. That's what these kind of shocks do. They initiate us into something, and kind of upset the apple cart, if you will, so that we have to do something, that we can't just sit there anymore in our pity party or, in our stuckness. We actually have to do something. And interesting that that's happening at the same time. We're revitalizing, but at the same time, we're gaining some kind of awareness as well as to what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff, huh?
Oh my goodness. I can almost see my path laid out in front of me. Everything you're saying just aligns with what I'm going through right now.
I think there's a lot of people that are seeing that same thing or feeling that same energy. Something else you said earlier and reminded me of something that my husband went through. You said that you came into the room and your dad was having conversations and you almost didn't want to interrupt because, it would seem like you would disturb him in that. Well, my husband, when his mother was getting ready to pass, was witness to something that was so extraordinary that he is calling me on the phone. She was in Oregon. I was up here in Washington. So he was down there at her house and helping her get set up in hospice and what have you. So he calls me one night and he's like whispering. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you whispering? And he said, because I'm watching this man talk to my mother. And I went, there's a man talking to your mother? I mean, I was like totally confused. What are you talking about? Yeah. Well, essentially what he was witnessing was a ghost, a spirit.
Oh, yeah.
His mom was sleeping. She was taking a nap. And this spirit was there. And he was leaning over and whispering in her ear. And Terry said he got up and he walked to the door. And the spirit went, like, nope, don't disturb this process, right? Yeah. And he walked back. And I'm on the phone. I'm witnessing this through my own ears, right? That this is what's happening. And he's telling me blow by blow what's happening. And I said, well, then just back off and just observe what's happening. And essentially, he realizes it is her father.
Oh my gosh! Oh, I just got chills.
So her father was there speaking to her, and he eventually he just sort of leaves, walks around the foot of the bed, and Terry said he sees this sort of glistening like light on the wall, like where the window is on the wall in her room, and he just kind of disappears right through that.
Yeah.
And he's witnessing this at the same time it's happening. And so later I said, when your mom wakes up, don't tell her what you witnessed, but just ask her if she was experiencing anything, out of the ordinary. And she said, yeah, I was having a dream that I was having tea with my father. And that he was telling me secrets.
Yeah.
And it was so amazing to me and to
Mhm.
him too. And then he, after she said that, explains to her what he saw. And
Yeah.
of course, she was psychic all of her life. She was the first person that introduced me to astrology, because when she met me, she went, "Oh, you're a Gemini? You've got to marry my son." And we've been married for 36 years. So she gets
Yeah.
me a chart done, and then she was very Catholic. And yet every Friday she would read tea leaves and do cards for people, card readings for people. She was the most
That's
amazing
awesome.
woman ever. So,
Yeah.
but interesting that, we have that as a parallel sort of experience
Mhm.
where, I mean, I didn't
Mhm.
witness it personally, but I certainly did via the telephone.
Yeah.
And something's going on here on this planet that we just don't always know,
Mhm.
with the typical senses.
Mhm. Definitely.
Yeah.
It woke me up.
Yes. Just, I was telling Angie before we started that, because can I share your age? Is that okay?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
I don't mind.
Angie's at age 41, which is the midlife. I call it the midlife redirect because I hate the idea of a crisis, but most people will know it as your midlife crisis. And it happens between 40 and 43 years old, where Uranus moves to an opposition point with the natal position it was holding when you were born. And it's very disruptive and very disturbing to some people. The stereotype, of course, is the man that you've been married to for 20 years who divorces you, and next thing you know, he buys a sports car and he's, driving around town with a blonde bimbo in his arm. And that's that stereotype energy of we want to revert back to our childhood. But in reality, it's where we sort of come of age and we have to really take on the mantle at that point of who it is that we're really here to be. And for me, I think, 40, I turned 40 in 2001, and it was the events of 9/11 that shook me to my core and woke me up. And within a few months, I had opened, I had drawn up all the plans for a metaphysical bookstore. I had a daughter who had attempted suicide. And after that point, she didn't succeed and she totally came out of it beautifully. Um, but she started seeing a psychic. And I mean, my whole world is being rocked by all of these metaphysical things, one after another, none the least of which was the experience that I had with the book that would wander around my house until I sat and read it, and it turned out to be an astrology book. So things happen right about that age. The age you are is a magical age where, even though it feels like, so it can be very difficult feeling, it's really a magical time because something becomes revealed to you in that period. So here you
Yeah.
are, you're ready to jump out there in some way, maybe a new way.
Well, I can say I do see either leaving my full-time job or maybe getting booted out of my full-time job. And so in multiple ways of what you've said the past few days, I see it. I see it coming. So I think that's going to be my shock to do what I need to do.
Shock to your system. So you must know your astrology chart. So do you know where the Taurus Aries cusp is in your chart? What house that's in?
No, actually, I had a chart done, and I was actually going to ask you to do mine because mine had, when I had it done, it was more or less like asteroids and things of that nature more than the planets. So I was really confused when I read it. Because when I do the starseed charts, it's totally different, and I'm not great with astrology per se. So I need your services to help me decide what's going on because
Yeah. And you can get a free human design chart. All of you out there listening know you can get a free human design chart just going to my website, www.living-astrology.com. And dash is a hyphen, really, not a dash. Um, and right up on the front page, it says request a free human design chart, because I like to get that into everybody's hands. There's something that happens when you see the geometry of this chart. Um, I can't describe it other than I had had a psychic tell me years before I ever saw a human design chart that at some point there was going to be this new astrology that was going to come to my mind or come to my awareness, and it was going to somehow have some geometry involved in it, and she could see these geometric shapes, and she said they sort of look like chakras, or three-dimensional or four, five, whatever she was saying, dimensional chakras. And I was like, wow, I don't even know what that might be. And so, I just kind of filed it away in the back of my mind until it was November of 2012. And I was preparing to do a workshop, and I was on a radio show, and this man says something about human design astrology. And I went, what? I'm an astrologer. I don't even know what that is. So I went, he said he'd offered to do a reading for me, and I knew it as soon as I saw it. There was that visceral connection that was just, oh, this is it. This holds some really key energies, and that was it, right? I started moving completely into working with human design, and now I'm in the process of bringing the two together, astrology and human design, because I think there's something key there too. So that's really how I like to work with human design, is that how does that dovetail with your astrology? And now we can take it and we can maybe dovetail it with the starseed energy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fascinating? So tell us a little more about how people can get in touch with you. Do you do readings for people? Is your work mostly in a group level? Tell us a little more about what you do, how you do it, and how they can get a hold of you.
Okay. Well, I do a lot of stuff online, and I have a group for the Starseeds if they're interested.
What's the name of your group? And I'll type it up on the screen here.
Okay. It is Starseeds Unite. I believe it is Facebook.
And this is on Facebook?
Yes, Facebook. So it'd be facebook.com/groups/Starseeds Unite.
So Facebook.com. I'm typing backwards. Groups, another /Starseeds.
Unite.
More than one starseed, right? Unite.
Sorry?
What, more than one starseed? Starseed?
Starseeds. Yep.
Does that look correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Woohoo!
Thank you.
And there's, of course, the www in front of the Facebook people.
Okay.
And then, so what do you do on that page? Are you educating, doing readings?
I'm educating. Yeah, I'm letting people know if they want a starseed chart, they can contact me on my website. I have a whole page dedicated to nothing but starseeds on my website. And in that group, every time I find any new information on a new star or planet, or a new race, for example, I will post it in there, and I will also post where it falls on a chart.
Okay.
So you might have an affinity then for that planet or for that race. So you can kind of then, as we're going through this, pick and choose and decide which one you resonate with and which one's in your chart. And then, I post funny stuff in there about UFOs and all that good stuff.
Of course, that's the interesting thing.
So it's a fun group, but it's also a lot about just finding our origins. And I always tell people too, it doesn't matter so much where you're from, because most of us are from the stars. I used to say we were all from the stars, but I have found doing these charts that there are what we call Earth seeds that have only ever been on Earth, and they have no star seed origins whatsoever. But for the most part, the star seeds, it's hard to explain when you see them on the chart. You can see right away where they belong and what they're here to do. So that's what I try to encompass in the group and talk about the most.
Awesome. Now, if they go to that group, can they get a reading, or do you have a website that they have to go to for that?
For the reading, just go to my website. It's www.angiewhitsel.com. And then there's /Starseeds if you want to go to the Starseed page. But that now it's under construction, so don't mind it.
That's
But
good. We're always under construction. Right? Because new information comes in, new things, new ways of presenting it. So yeah, no problem there. No problem there.
Yeah.
But that's where they can go to get a starseed chart from you?
Yes. Yep.
And is that a process that you do like one-on-one with somebody? Like I do one-on-one readings with people, or is it a report?
It's more or less a report, but it's different than a lot of the ones that are out there right now, because what I do, I will gather your birth information pretty much like an astrology chart. Yeah. And then I'll go through and I'll plot all the stars that I have found that would relate to you, and I will give you a report of the characteristics of that race and how they came to be in galactic history. But then I also do an intuitive aspect as well, where I can see how you lived those lives on those planets. For example, I saw one client who was more or less a soldier type being on Orion, and she was male at the time, and she helped with negative ET races that were attacking Orion at the time, and she was living out that lifetime as more of the soldier type. And then I saw her become a refugee and go to Lyra, which is a totally another different planet, and I can see kind of the progress of each lifetime and through the different planets.
I love it. I can't believe that. I'd never heard of you before now. This is perfect timing. So can you see the comments that people are saying? Like, Mimi, love this, very interested. This is amazing today. Suzanne Fulmer and Londa, yes, I've heard about Saturn and neutrinos. What? Not sure I've heard of it. Neutrinos is actually Neutrinos. And I would never, ever have even thought to look at that, except that the software I use for human design is called Neutrinos, new sunware, or new something, but it's called Neutrinos. And I was like, what is that? So I had to look that up. So for the audience, for those of you who are out there listening, if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat box there, and she can see them. She hopefully can see them. So, because I can imagine that people are probably reeling out there going, whoa, this is wonderful stuff. And of course, I have millions of questions in my own head. I'm going on. Now, if you've had planet conversations with Saturn or with people from Saturn, are there other planets out there of people that have contacted you within our own solar system?
It's interesting because I have just started channeling within the past year, and it's almost like I have a team of people behind me, and I can't really explain it other than I feel like it's almost a council of different people and different beings from different planets. And this is one of the things. I just met with a psychic with myself, and she is saying, you really need to develop this. This is something that's on your path where you need to channel these beings and give messages to humanity. I also dream about them at night, and I need to be able to remember my dreams better, because I know they're giving me information. Yeah. But it's something that's coming up and will be coming up soon on my pages as well as my website. So
Roseanne says her starseed chart is awesome, so I can only imagine. Do you have a literal chart, like a wheel where you're plotting these different stars and so forth?
Yeah, how I usually do my chart is And this is why I really want to learn real astrology too, because I think it would help me just understand the whole spiel of everything that's going on. Because right now I'm just doing starseed stuff. And so I'll put the chart up there and I can pinpoint which fixed stars or planets you're from. And then I put keywords underneath that come to me either clairvoyantly or clairaudiently while I'm doing the chart. And I will put the keywords on the first page that come up for you. And then I will do my intuitive take on your lifespan through galactic history.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll list all of the races that you have an affinity for and give you a report on each one.
I can't wait to work with you. I think it will be fascinating to blend some of the knowledge that I have about astrology with what you're doing and complete the picture. I feel like almost there's been this jigsaw puzzle of services coming together that are telling the same story, but from a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
Human design is one, astrology another. Then there's the I Ching, and then there was the tree of life, the Kabbalah, and now there's the Starseed astrology, or I don't know what else you would call it, for lack of a better word. Right now, Starseed astrology, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So again,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's why I would really love to have you on my page as well, because now my people have the starseed aspect, but they need the human design and the real astrology aspect to tie it all together. So yeah. I think it would be great.
I think it would be great, and I would love to do that. And I just want to say something. I put my website address on there because somebody in the chat asked me to do that. And but don't forget, Angie's is her name, Angie, ANGIEWHITSEL.com, AngieWhitsel.com. There's an interesting story in human design about how the human arises in, we know the biological connection, right, where the sperm meets the egg and conception occurs. But at the point of conception, there is a star, you could call it, or a design that arises up from the earth, and another design that arises up from the stars. At the moment of conception, they come together to form your human design. So literally, and I'm getting chills as I'm talking about this, because it's literally that we're joining the experiences that we've had as a spirit to the experiences that we will ground or anchor in here on the planet. And they join up together in that aspect. And what it really reminds me of is, if any of you have ever seen, what are those movies? The Dan Brown movies. The first one was not Angels and Demons, but
I know what I'm talking about.
Well, anyway, they're talking about the coming together of the two triangles, right? The divine feminine, the triangle with the point facing down, and the divine masculine, the triangle that's pointed upward. And when they come together, they form the six-sided star, or the Star of David, and there's something miraculous in that happens. And both from the esoteric side, but literally here then, as we see this design crystal that is arising from the earth and the divine crystal coming together in human design, we're seeing that same sort of aspect, right? The feminine joining up with the masculine energies, not the male and female, but masculine and feminine, and the coming together of two energies that create something spectacular. If you think about what the whole birth of Jesus and the six-sided star and all of that, it just blows me away that all of these things are coming together for us right now. We're living this magical history. I love it.
Do you want to hear something that's crazy?
Yeah, I love crazy. Crazy's in the bus.
I literally just took my Arcturian healing session with Becky Kimes, and that's when I received my Arcturian guide, and they give you a symbol, and it was the six-sided star.
Oh my goodness. And I just out of the blue just decided to have that conversation. Or not.
That's crazy. Because at first I didn't think, I'm like, the Star of David, why would I get that symbol? And then I realized Merkaba and all that stuff. And now here you are talking about it. And I didn't make that connection between male and female. So that's amazing.
To me, it would be like the star seed on Earth, right? What the design crystal arising from the salt of the earth, or from it, literally from the core of the earth, right? The core of the earth, giving you sort of maybe, if you could think about it as the biological history, the genetic history that you're carrying in your body, the wisdom in your body, with the joining of the wisdom of spirit. So that's the human being. It comes together in that template. And it's really kind of poetic when you think about it that way.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you have this piece, right? The star piece. And what I'm saying is we can bring those two pieces, the physical earth and the starseed piece together, and create something fantastic, a way forward perhaps for people who felt like they have no way forward. They're stuck. So even yourself, right? You feel sort of stuck, but you definitely have this mission that you're embarking on in this life. So I think your midlife redirect is pushing you in that direction to do it more full time. So good morning, Michelle Brooks. Happy May Day to you as well. It's good to have you with us. Stephanie, I think is how you say her name. Stephanie Nash is joining us this morning. New name. She might be from one of your pages perhaps, but welcome. We are so happy that you were able to join us today. I could talk all day to you, Angie, but I have to go. Sadly, I have to go. But I would love for you to come on here again. And then if we get an opportunity to do something with your page, I would love that as well.
Yes,
so, is there any last things you want to share with people before we go today?
No, really. I just wanted to thank you and thank everyone for stopping by. And like I said, I really want to have you on my page as well in the future, because I know a lot of them have questions.
I'm sure. It's both of our subjects are vast subjects. There are a lot of questions, and it's amazing. It's amazing, life-changing information. And I'm really pleased that you were able to fill in a little piece of of the gap of all of the knowledge that we have access to. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I can't wait to have you back. Thank all of you listeners for joining us. Please go to Angie's page and check out her information. And we send you much love, peace, joy. What are we doing? We are living a gentle, joyful, loving, and abundant life. Goodbye, everybody. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Thank you so much, Angie.
Thank you.